A very good evening to all my dear students. Welcome for today's session, that is second session of chapter number 4, Share Capital and Debentures. So we have already started Share Capital and Debentures. We'll have a quick recap of what we have done in the previous class and then we'll be moving ahead. So welcome to the class. Good evening, Navneet, family, all those who have written beautiful messages, Deepika, Mr. Linga R, good evening, child. Navneet Maurya, Jaya Bachchan, and all the students on the portal as well. Let me see how many of you have joined on the portal also. So before we move ahead, children, any doubts in what we have done? Definitely, I will be asking you questions and taking your small test before we move ahead. But if you have any doubts, you can also ask your doubts. Let me see the students on the portal meanwhile. Okay. Only few have logged in from here. Others are on Zoom. Yes. How many of you have written? Pooja B, good evening, beta. Adil Khan, Santosh, welcome to the class, all of you. Mr. Chavan, good evening. Shamli, Deepika. All right. So we have started the chapter in the previous class and we did a little bit discussion about a stock and a share. Mahesh Shah, I can get your messages. Santosh Dash. All right. All of you on the here on the portal also. We have logged in. So we have started with the definition of share and I told you there is a difference between share and stock. So cumulatively, all the fully paid up shares, the bundle of fully paid up shares together is known as a stock. सारे shares जो fully paid up है, अगर हम उन्हें इकट्ठा कर दे तो उसे हम कहते हैं stock, bundle of share. Can partly paid shares also be included in the term stock? Yes or no? Very good, Shamli, Chavan, Jaya. Excellent. No is the correct answer. Very good. Good response. All right. After that, yes, Pooja, be good. So it cannot be included, only fully paid up shares. Adil Khan, correct. After that, there are two kinds of share capital. One is equity share capital and one is preference share capital. Jasmine Kaur, Mahesh Shah, welcome to the class, students. Those who have joined on the portal, welcome. So next question is, there are two types of share capital. Equity share capital, very good, Navneet Kaur, and preference share capital. So DVRs are part of preference share capital. True or false? DVRs, that is differential voting rights. Excellent, Shamli. False. Santosh, ma'am, voice कम आ रही है. बच्चों please बताओ voice ठीक आ रही है? Santosh says voice कम आ रही है. I hope the voice is clear, sir. Clear है, Shamli ने लिखा है. Okay, beta, Santosh, maybe some internet error on your side. Okay, Kabjot. Navneet also mentioned. Ajit sir, आवाज clear है? Voice is clear? Okay, now it's clear? Okay, okay. All right. All right. Thank you, students, for confirming. I've read your messages. All right. So false is the correct answer. DVRs are never part of. Okay, Navneet, my question was, DVRs are part of preference share capital. So the answer is no, because equity share capital has two types of shares. One is equal voting rights, that is vanilla equity shares, which has uniform voting rights. And the other category is differential voting rights, where the rights of the shares are different with respect to the dividend that we give them or with respect to the voting rights that is given to them. So, if my articles of association does not give me the permission for DVRs, can I issue the DVRs? Again, yes or no? I am not opening the presentation because when I start the screen share, I can't read your answers so quickly. So no is the correct answer. Savya Khan, everybody. Ashilesha, good. Deepika, everybody. Okay, now what is the procedure for DVRs issue? Let's have a quick recap. So here we started with stocks, kinds of share capital. Article authorization is must. Do we need to pass an OR or SR for issuing the DVRs? Special resolution is required or an ordinary resolution? Excellent. Ordinary resolution is required for issuing the DVRs. But we did some special resolution also in the last class. For what type of share special resolution was required? Can anyone remind me? We did DVRs के लिए ordinary resolution है. But in the last class on Monday, we did one topic in which SR was required. Excellent, Jaya Manocha. The first one. Savya. Navneet, preference shares, वो तो आज करना है अभी redemption. Sweat equity shares. Yes, Shamli. Sweat Deepika. Good. Sweat equity shares के लिए SR is passed. Kabyajit. Chakravarti. Good. Adil. Excellent. Prajapati. Good. Sweat equity shares is the correct answer. All right. So here for DVRs, ordinary resolution is required. And what is the maximum percentage of the voting power that can be given to DVR is 74%. The rights cannot exceed for the voting powers more than 74% at any point of time. Now, there were three types of defaults. Number one default, not in filing the annual returns and financial statements. For how many years? For 3 immediately preceding years. मैंने कहा 24 में करा, 2018 में करा, 2009 में करा. Not a problem. 3 immediately preceding financial years में default नहीं होना चाहिए. There should not be a default in 3 immediate years. That means 24, 23, 22. No subsisting default for dividend, for just a second. No subsisting default for dividend, for deposits repayment, for redemption of preference shares, and for redemption of debentures. No default should happen. Dividend, preference shares, debentures, and deposits का कोई default नहीं होता. उसके बाद no default on dividend on preference shares. यहाँ पे कौन सी dividend की बात कर रहा है? Equity shares, payment of declared dividend, जो भी आपने dividend declare करा है वो pay होना चाहिए. Preference shares के dividend में default नहीं होना चाहिए. टर्म लोन विद इन ट्रस्ट, यानी पब्लिक फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन से कोई लोन लिया उसकी रिपेमेंट में. स्टैट्यूटरी ड्यूज क्या बताया था मैंने आपको? द लोन्स दैट यू हैव टेकन फ्रॉम द एम्प्लॉइज और द सैलरीज दैट यू आर गिविंग देम, बोनस दैट यू आर गिविंग देम, or amount which has been credited to IEPF accounts. This should be no default. Company may issue equity shares with differential voting rights upon the expiry of 5 years from the end of which financial year default was good. After that, so 2 important years were 3 years का default नहीं होना चाहिए. And कब तक default ठीक हो जाना चाहिए? By when the default should have been rectified? Maximum by 5 years. Okay, everybody has written the correct answers. 3 years, 5 years, everything. Good. All right. The company should not have been penalized for how many years? Under the SEBI or RBI SAKARA Act for how many years? 3 years. Shamli, Kapejit, Navneet, excellent, Prajapati, everybody, Deepika. Doubt treatment of consideration. दोबारा लिखना है जिसने लिखा था doubt treatment. You type again and then I'll get your message. Geeta, Linga, everybody go. Type it again. Somebody was asking some doubt. Just type some message on that so that your message will come on the top. I think Shamli, it was you? No. All right. So after that, for 3 years, default should not be there. So 2, 3 years and default should have been rectified in 5 years. Explanatory statement, all these points were discussed. Details were also disclosed in Board of Directors report. Can we convert our existing, ये आएगा MCQ में आ सकता है question. Can we convert our existing equity share capital into DVRs? No. Can we convert the DVRs into equity share capital? No. Aaj voting rights mein also we will understand that only the existing shares have their voting rights. That's different. DVRs has different voting rights. Preference shares have different kind of voting rights. However, all the other rights of DVRs are same. All the holders of the equity shares with DVRs will enjoy all the rights related to bonus and shares and right issue is same. And also the respective register of members shall be maintained for all these shareholders. After that, we did certificate of shares also. So what does the share certificate tells us? It is prima facie evidence that whosoever name is mentioned over there is presumed to be the holder of the share. So if Mr. A is having the share certificate and it is signed by one director of the company, is it valid? Is the share certificate which is signed by one director of the company is valid? Yes or no? No. Why no? It shall be signed by at least two directors or by common seat. Or if one director and company secretary are signing, then also it's fine. Okay, good. And if your share certificate has been lost or destroyed, then with the board of directors consent, a new can be issued. You need to prove this point that it was destroyed. And if you're getting it issued again, if it has been torn, then you want a replacement. Here, a duplicate one is being issued, then you surrender the old one and you get a duplicate shareholder. If the replacement is happening, then you need to give the old one back and you get the new share certificate. Then we did the time period. What is the time period for unlisted company? Within how much time period the duplicate and renewed share certificates should be issued? 3 months, 4 months, 45 days, what? Okay, 3 months is the correct answer. Excellent, everybody. And what is the time period for listed companies? Within how much time? Excellent, 45 days. Excellent. Everybody has written the correct answers. And the duplicate renewed share certificate shall be in form SH2. Then what was SH1? SH1 is the share certificates, those which are issued should be in the form of SH1. And if the company is doing subdivision and consolidation, then they will issue fresh shares certificate without requiring the surrender of old, and also a nominal fees of 50 can be charged, not more than that. And if it is a demat form shares, what is happening? If it is a demat form shares, then depository, records of the depository, the name of the beneficiary should be entered in the records of the depository. Then you are the beneficial interest, person who is having the beneficial interest in the company. Penalty, you remember the penalty? If any default is made in issuing duplicate certificate, 447 will be liable for every officer of the company, and the company will be charged with the fault of 5 times the face value of the shares involved, and it can be higher of 10 times of the face value or rupees 10 crore, whichever is high. So the minimum and maximum fine have to be remembered in this case. Share certificates shall be in SH1 and duplicates were in SH2. And if the shares are being jointly held, children, then even if one of the person has been issued the share certificate, it will be considered as if it has been given to the all the share holders. After that, we did one more important concept of sweat equity shares, out of which I'm going to ask you a question, and then we will be doing all the in-between sections. So sweat equity shares under section 54. Number one point was that these are issued to the directors or employees at a discount or a consideration other than cash if they are providing any know-how or something, intellectual property right, value additions if they're doing for the company. Some is required to be passed. And they should be of the same category shares which have been issued. Now my question to the class is, if my equity share capital of the company is 10 lakh rupees, preference share capital is 15 lakh rupees, how many amount of sweat equity shares I can issue? Why it's not working properly? How much sweat equity shares I can issue? What is the maximum limit for issuing these sweat equity shares? Tell me. If my equity share capital is 10 lakhs and my preference share capital is 15 lakhs, then what is the maximum amount for which I can issue the shares? So equity share capital, 10 lakhs, 15% of the paid up equity share capital has to be seen, or rupees 5 crore, whichever is higher. So what will be higher, children? What will be the issue size? Issue size will be, everybody? Let me see how many of you have worked out the correct. Very good. 1.5 or 5. 1.5 CR? Navneet, it is 10 lakhs. So 15% of 10 lakhs, how much it will come? I have not said crores. So issue size will be, yes, 1.5 lakhs or 5 crores, whichever is highest. So we'll take 5 crore, which is highest maximum. You can issue till 5 crore. But now the company can issue. Now the company can issue up till maximum 5 crores of the share capital. But what was the second limit, children? You forgot the second limit. What is the maximum cap that should not be exceeding? 2.5%, 25% of the paid up equity share capital at any time. So whatever you are issuing, it should never be more than 25% of the paid up equity share capital at any time. So what will be that? 10 lakh का 25% करो, कितना आता है? 2.5 lakhs. So we cannot exceed the limit of 2.5 lakhs. Clear to everyone? Here also it was paid up equity share capital. In the uppercase also it was equity share capital. Then why has ma'am written preference share capital? Which is the case in which the preference share capital will be considered? If it is the case of, tell me. Yes, 50% is correct. But in what case? If it is the case of startup. Yes, absolutely correct. If it is a case of startup company, then the issue size can be equal to more than 50%. Then the limit is not more than 50% of the paid up share capital up till 10 years of the incorporation. Everybody remembered. All of you have given the correct answer. I'm super happy for that. So this was the highest limit, 15% of the existing paid up share capital of 5 crore, whichever is highest, 5 crore aaya. But sweat equity shares cumulative, including all the previous issues, shall not be more than 25%. So let's assume we have already issued 1.5 lakhs last year. So now you cannot go more than 2.5 lakh. मतलब अब इस साल में सिर्फ 1 ही लाख और इशू कर सकते हो, इससे ज्यादा नहीं हो सकते. So the maximum sweat equity shares should never be more than 25% of the paid up equity capital of the company at any time. However, if you're a startup, then it shall not exceed 50% of the paid up share capital. Here, preference shares is included. I hope you have written down this point in your notes also. Is that clear? Then registered valuer was appointed to do the lock-in period. What is the lock-in period of sweat equity shares? 3 years from the date of allotment. They have to be allotted. They cannot be withdrawn or sold. Okay? And within 12 months time period, the sweat equity shares should be issued. Where was this? Yes, it should be issued within a period of 12 months. And any valuation of the report shall be done by the registered valuer. What is the non-cash consideration? The depreciation will be done if it is carried to balance sheet. If it is a depreciable asset, other than the above, it is recorded as an expense in the profit and loss account. Also, the disclosure has to be given in the director's report. In what register do we maintain the register of sweat equity shares? So SH1, share capitals, certificates, share certificates register. SH2, the duplicate and replace share certificates. And SH3 is for the sweat equity shares registers have to be maintained. Meaning of employee, any doubt in this meaning of employee? I hope everybody remembered this clearly, no doubts in this. So my chat box is now overloadedly full because you have all answered so nicely and correctly. Difficult for me to take the names of all, but I'm so happy that most of you, those who are present in the class right now, have given the correct answers. So that's great. Very nice, all of you. So all these permanent employees, director, whole time or not, employee, director of holding and subsidiary can also be considered while sweat equity shares are being issued. Clear? Now let's move ahead to a new section, that is Jaya Manocha, you want to ask something? Raise your hand. Jaya Manocha, you wanted to ask something? Yes, Peter.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I would want to ask that when there is a case of known cash consideration, then why we have
Known
done?
as expense in profit and loss,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
So I'll just give me 1 minute. Let me complete the section and I'll show you with the help of an example why it is shown.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. All. And Anubhav Malik is in the class. He also gave his query in the last class related to prospectus. I think Anubhav has not joined the class today. I wanted to answer him because I told him that I'll be answering him today. Okay. Maybe by later in the class when you join. Yes, yes. Okay. Jaya, I have read your doubt in the chat box also. Santosh, I hope the voice is loud and clear to you now. All right, Harsh Mishra, all your answers are correct. Regan J. Welcome to the class, Regan J. He has written, it's my first class in CA today, so that's great. And be consistent and regular, Regan, going forward, okay? Okay, Geeta, good answer. Savya, Ashilesha. Anil, okay, cumulative in the sense start from incorporation to till date. Yes, cumulative is since starting you have. So whatever sweat equity shares you have been issued, the limit should not be exceeding maximum 25% of the paid up equity. Okay? Now let's move to voting rights. Now we are taking up shares in the company. What is the benefit that we are going to get as a shareholder? We will be given certain voting rights. Apart from the dividend and interest that we are enjoying, a shareholder enjoy the voting rights. Voting right means I have a right to vote on a resolution. So when we do the chapter of MGT, that is chapter number 7, I will explain you how the meetings are held in the company. In those meetings, shareholders are invited and they need to pass certain resolutions. What is the meaning of resolution? Resolution means the decisions that we take in the meeting. कंपनी की जो भी सारी मीटिंग्स में डिसीजंस ली जाती हैं उसको लीगल टर्म में बोलते हैं रेजोल्यूशन. In English, whatever decisions are taken by the company in their general meetings, board meetings, the terminology that is used for decisions is known as resolutions. So equity shareholders, the owners of the company, have the right to vote on every resolution placed before the company. Whatever the company is doing a meeting, equity shareholders can freely vote. But they will vote in proportion to their paid up share capital. And differential voting rights will vote as per the terms of issue. So if I have issued DVRs having 10 shares and they will be given one voting right. If you hold 20 shares, you will get two voting rights. If you hold 100 shares, you will get 10 voting rights. So whatever is written in the articles of association or whatever is written in the terms of issues, DVRs will enjoy the voting right as per that. So one is uniform equity shares. Another is differential voting rights. They get the voting rights as per AOA of the company or the terms of issue. Uniform equity shares will get the voting rights in proportion to their paid up share capital. Just write this down, everybody. Everyone is clear on this? Okay. So now what will happen? So you just wrote down that in proportion to their capital, normal equity shares are given in pro rata basis. We can say that, right? Jitne paid hai utna. Say for example, the share price is rupees 100 per share. A has paid rupees 80 per share. B has paid rupees 60 per share. C has paid 100 fully paid. So what will be the voting rights that will be given to them? He will get 80 upon 100 percentage of the voting rights. He will get 60 upon 100, whatever is the percentage of the total share capital voting rights. And here he will get full voting rights on the 100 shares. So whatever is your paid up share capital amount, accordingly the voting rights will be given to you if you are a normal equity share. So we call it in proportion to their paid up capital on pro rata basis, whatever we have decided. And for DVRs, that will be clearly as per the AOA or your terms that we have decided with you for the issue of the shares. But my dear students, preference share capital also get preference shareholders, preference shareholders also have voting rights. Yes or no? उनको भी voting rights मिलते हैं क्या? Yes, Anil. It is definitely helping us in decision making in board meetings. Also, the voting rights help you to decide the holding and subsidiary. That is absolutely correct. But then, how the voting rights are established, how the meetings are held, how the resolutions are passed, that we all understand in detail in chapter number 7. Ashilesha says, no, ma'am, preference shareholders will not be given the right to vote. Okay, Shamli also says the same. Everybody says, no, ma'am. Related on other matter. Ye kya likha Adil Khan? Okay. So why they are not given? Let us discuss the voting rights of preference shareholders. It says preference shareholders will have the right to vote only when the dividend has not been paid for 2 or more years at the time of winding up of the company or anything which is directly affecting them. देखिए प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स बहुत कूल है, शांत रहते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि उनको प्रेफरेंस मिलती है डिविडेंड के लिए एंड उनको रीपेमेंट ऑफ कैपिटल में प्रायोरिटी मिलती है. दे विल बी प्रेफर्ड व्हेनेवर द कैपिटल एट द टाइम ऑफ वाइंडिंग अप हैज टू बी रीपेड. नाउ इफ यू आर नॉट रीपेइंग देयर कैपिटल or it's been 2 years or more, you have not paid their dividend, then such a preference shareholder will be treated as the normal equity shareholder and will get the right to vote on all the resolutions of the company. What did I say? Preference shareholders generally don't vote on the resolutions in the general meeting. Let me just open the study material for you. But if their dividend is not paid, you are not giving them their repayment of capital, then they will have the right to vote on every resolution of the company because then they will be treated as the equity shareholder. So we are doing section number 47. This is what is written under section 47. Voting rights of the members holding equity shares, they have a right to vote in every resolution in proportion to the company. Whenever it is about Nidhi company, it is little important. Why? Have you done this? I hope you have done this question of Golden Apple Transport Company. So it says total share certificates were issued 12 lakh. The face value is the maximum penalty that can be imposed. So we have written this penalty topic. Accordingly, the illustration has been given. I hope you were able to solve example number 3. All right. So the voting rights will be in proportion to the share capital I just explained you. But in case of Nidhi company, no member will exercise the voting rights on poll in excess of 5% of the total voting rights of the equity shareholders. So more than 5%. So only up till 5% of the voting rights are given to them. Okay. So in case of Nidhi company, members will exercise the voting not in excess of 5% of the total voting powers. So 5% का ही उनको right दिया. Now, what is this voting right? They have briefly explained you the word voting right also. Voting right means the right of the member of a company to vote in any meeting or by means of postal ballot. हर member, company के हर equity shareholder member के पास ये right होता है कि वो meetings में जाएं और vote cast करें. Vote का मतलब क्या होता है? General meaning अगर हम समझे vote का. Do you remember when you were in school and the class teacher used to come and she used to ask you that I'm thinking to appoint a class leader for the class. And how was the class leader appointed? If I ask who wants to be the class leader. So what we used to do, we used to raise the hands. Whosoever raised their hands, out of them, yes, Kabirjit, hand raise karte the hum. Very good. So out of those hand raids, we used to cast votes. Okay, we have chosen these 3 best students. Please do some voting. There is name A, B, and C, and you will write on the chits. A is my friend, I will write his name. B is my friend, I will write his name. And we'll try to find out whosoever get the maximum votes will be chosen as a class leader. Now you will be easily able to understand. Similarly, in a meetings, when you're passing resolutions, you will be given the right. Yes, vote means to stand in favor of. So you are standing in favor of the resolutions and you are saying yes for that. So that is your voting right, which is given to every shareholder. They have this right to vote either while joining in the meeting or by postal ballot. Means you're sitting at your home, ballot papers will be sent to you and you cast your vote and you post it. Section 106, restrictions on voting rights, chapter number 7, तब पढ़ेंगे, अभी नहीं. Section 43 has overriding effect on 47. Holders of equity shares with DVRs will exercise. Section 43 में क्या था बेटा? Differential voting rights. They will vote as per AOA and terms of issues, not on proportional basis. उनका जो हमने decide करा है उसके according. Preference shareholders will have the right to vote only before the company. Yes, Anil, you want to ask something? Preference shareholders will get the right to vote only for the rights affecting their rights. Anything which is placed before the company and it is affecting the dividend and repayment of capital, then they will vote. Or you have not repaid or reduced their equity share capital at the time of winding up. So if the repayment or reduction of equity and preference share capital is happening, then also they can. Voting right of preference shareholder on a poll shall be in proportion to his share in the paid up preference. So I have 100 per share. I have paid up 80. So I will only cast the vote as per rupees 80 per share. If I have just paid up rupees 50, then I will only have the voting rights up till rupees 50. Second provision empowers preference shareholder with the right to vote on all the resolutions if my dividend is not paid for 2 or more years. So there was a preference shareholder, Mr. P. His dividend was not paid in the year 2018 and 2019. So in that case, in that respective years, in which 2 years or more, if his dividend was not placed, then in that year, he will be treated as an equity shareholder and he will cast the votes on all the resolutions which are placed before the company. Otherwise, preference shareholders किसमें vote cast करते हैं? सिर्फ जो उनके rights को affect करती हैं चीजें. But if you are an equity share, if you are a preference shareholder whose dividend has not been paid for 2 or more years, then you become the normal equity shareholder. In case of the resolutions where both equity and preference shareholders are entitled to vote, अब कोई ऐसा case अगर आ गया wherein both equity shareholders and the preference shareholders both are casting their vote. So one is Mr. Q, who is an equity shareholder, and Mr. P is also now preference shareholder, is also casting his vote. Proportion of the voting rights of equity shareholder to the voting rights of preference shall be in the same proportion as the paid up capital in respect of equity bears to the paid up capital in respect of. कहते जो मर्जी कर लो यार, वोटिंग राइट्स ना पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल की प्रोपोर्शन में कर. पहले तो कह रहे हैं प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स वोट करेंगे नहीं हर चीज के ऊपर. यदि 2 साल से डिविडेंड पे नहीं हुआ, so Mr. P will also vote and Q is also voting. but both of them will vote as per their respective proportionate share capital which has been paid. Understood, all my Hindi and English friends, both of you? Clear? Okay. Generally, no. Mr. Chavan has written generally no. That's great. Hmm. So, in Swift Pharma Labs raised capital of 300 crores through the issue of single series of 8% preference share, apart from 1200 crore ordinary share. There was a company, public limited company. They have raised 300 crore of share capital by issuing 8% preference share capital, apart from 1200 ordinary. So 300 preference shares and 1200 equity shares. They paid dividend to such preference shareholder for 2021 and 20. Last dividend कब पे हुआ है? 21 and 20. With effect from 1st April 24, we assume the right to vote on any resolution before the company. So 21, 22, 22, 20, 23, 24. If they have not been paid for 2 years or more, in that very respective financial year, जैसे ही दो मैंने 2018-19 का एग्जांपल लिया था, तो 2020 से वो सारे रेजोल्यूशंस पे वोट करने शुरू कर. So till the time their dividend has not been paid for 2 or more years, they will be having the right to vote on every resolution placed before the company. But till 31st March, they can vote only on that resolution which is directly affecting their rights attached to the preference shares or the matters of winding up or repayment of equity or preference share. The proportion of voting right of equity to the voting rights of preference will be 4:1. पता ही लग रहा है हमें यहाँ से? Okay. So 4:1 equity shareholders, 1200, 12:3, 4:1 की ratio में vote कर सकते. Clear? Again, IFSC public company whose memorandum allows, it is not applicable. Private company where memorandum allows is not applicable. IFSC public company, we take up in detail when we go to the chapters of accounts of and audit of companies. There we learn about these international finance corporation company, IFSC companies. They are given certain benefits. So what kind of benefits are exactly given to them and what type of companies they are, it's a separate topic which will be covered in detail in further chapters. Is that clear? Section 47 is clear to everyone. संतोष कुमार अभी भी लिख रहे हैं मैम एक बार हिंदी में रिवाइज करा दो बच्चा. I just spoke the entire topic in Hindi so that you people can also understand. Still, Santosh, if you have not understood anything, please feel free to ask. Okay. Let me just see. I hope I have not missed on any messages. Okay, Regan. Savya, understood. Shilesh, very good. Anil is asking something. Preference shareholders will also get voting, ma'am. But yes, yes. Yes, Anil, absolutely. I hope now you've understood the points also. Okay, Linga, good. You have understood. Adil Khan. Yes, Kabir ji. Pooja B, good. Okay, it is affecting their matters. All right, everybody has understood clearly. What is pari passu? Aditya KS is asking. Aditya, pari passu means ranking equally. So if I have issued you DVRs and I have issued A-class equity shares to somebody else, so whatever rights will be given to the A-class equity shares, the same rights will be given to you that you're holding the DVRs. The rights and obligations will be absolutely same. Okay. Now let's move to the very, very interesting topic, which is a little complicated over here. And let's move to my presentation where I've simplified notes for you. Variations in the rights of the shareholders. So we just did voting right. Voting right is very, very simple. You just simply have to learn these 2 years provision, dividend not paid, and otherwise equity shareholders will be in GST asked us to message. Okay, Mustafa, then you can message in that chat box so that everybody is visible, then it'll be easy. Okay, Mustafa has given a suggestion that if everyone posts the messages in everyone, then it will be okay. When I ask you questions, then it will become a hodgepodge. But yes, we can try for that. We can try doing that, Mustafa. Thank you for your suggestion. All right. So variation in shareholders' rights, section 48. Section 48 tells us a very, very important section. Variation means changes. So my first question to the class is, if I have given you 10 voting rights as the equity shareholder, and you are A and B equity shareholder has been given 13 voting rights in proportion to the paid up share capital, can I change your voting right? Can I say now you don't have 10, you only have 5 voting rights? Can I say no, no, you don't have 13, you only have 11 voting rights? Or I promised to pay you the dividend of 5% to the preference shareholder. Later on, I said, no, 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 I will only pay you 4%. Can I do that? Law says no. You cannot change the rights which are given to the shareholders. Where the share capital is divided into different class of shares, the rights attached to it, the shares may be varied. So when you become a shareholder, when you take up the shares in the company, share allotment is done to you, you become a shareholder. Whatever rights, there are certain rights attached to the particular shares that you're holding. That right gives you that is the share is an interest, matter of interest. Remember definition? So how much vote, how much say I have in the company, or what is my value in the company is defined by the shares that I'm holding in that company. But it says this can be varied. Varied means it can be changed. How you can change it? How you can change it? By taking a consent in writing of not less than 3/4 of the issued shares of that class. So how many shareholders? At least 3/4 of the issued shares consent in writing is required, or you pass a special resolution at a separate meeting of that class. Now, what is this class? So we have A series of equity shares, specs. A series of equity shares and B series of equity shares, or A class of equity shares, A class of equity shares. And then we have B class of equity shares. Am I audible? B equity shares. Now, if I am changing the rights, if I am changing the rights of A equity shares, A class equity shares, तो B को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, B class shares की बात नहीं हो रही है, A class equity shares की बात. If rights of A equity shares are being changed, then who will hold a meeting? All A class equity shares will call a meeting. And what will happen, children? SR will be passed. Then only you can make a variation. So if you are a particular class of equity shares, you want to make any variations or changes in your rights, SR will be required to be passed. You will conduct a meeting and you'll pass a special resolution. Or you can do what? You don't need to call a meeting. You take in writing the consent of at least 3/4 of the issued shares of that class. 3/4 of the shareholders. 3/4 ऑफ द शेयरहोल्डर्स का कंसेंट ले लो, जितने भी 3/4 ऑफ द इशूड शेयर्स हैं उस क्लास के, अगर आप उनका कंसेंट राइटिंग में ले लेते हो, वो कहते हैं यस वी आर ओके विद द वेरिएशन, और यू हैव पास द एसआर, एनी ऑफ दीज थिंग्स हैज बीन डन, देन rights of A class shares can be changed or can be varied. Clear? You can write it down, the brief summary. A equity shares, A class equity shares लिखते हैं ना. First point is clear to everyone. SR is required or the consent of at least 3/4 of the value of shareholders will be required. Now, if this A class right shares are being varied, it is affecting the B class shareholders also. See, for example, these equity shares were the DVR and they were given 10 shares for one voting right. Now you are changing and giving them 2 voting rights for 10 shares. So they will to give all these 3/4 of the shareholders and consent and the resolution. Class shareholders consent will also be required. Why? Because I am the equity shareholder having uniform rights and now you have increased their voting rights. So you have decreased mine voting rights. So if any of the shareholders, if this was clear to everyone, what we have written. Now we are talking if class A rights are varied. Why will they get varied? If consent in writing or special resolution has been passed. If variation of one class of shareholder is affecting the rights of another class, how will it affect? Suppose I am DVR holder. You are changing my rights instead of one. Now you're giving me 2 voting rights. So the equity shareholder, his right will also go down. Then only you will get 2 voting rights. So he was earlier having 10. Now he will have 9 voting rights because I have given one more to DVRs. So my right is also getting affected. अगर ऐसी सिचुएशन होगी, अगर वो कहता है कि अगर एक क्लास ऑफ शेयर होल्डर्स के राइट्स अफेक्ट करते हैं दूसरे क्लास को, then consent of other class shareholders will also be required. And the provisions of this section shall apply to such variation. कहते सेक्शन 48 तो फॉलो करना ही है, उनका भी कंसेंट लेना पड़ेगा. So if class A equity shares are varied, then either we pass an SR or 3/4 of the consent of A class shareholders. Absolutely correct. And no approval is required of B shareholders. But if B shares are affected, then their 3/4 of the consent will also be needed. Then their A class shares, meeting held, SR passed, or consent of 3/4 in value. No approval from other class shareholders. Everybody clear this? But if this variation affects the B class also or C class, whatever it is, then their consent in 3/4 is also needed. Copy it down. ठीक है बेटा, everybody written. All right. Variation in the shareholders' rights will have an effect. Requires a provision in the memorandum and articles to this effect. वो कहते हैं वेरिएशन अगर आप कर रहे हो, also there should be an effect in MOA or AOA. MOA is memorandum, AOA is articles, and in the absence of such variation should not be prohibited by the terms of the issue. Means I've simplified for you. If no power is given in MOA and AOA, then variation should not have been prohibited when such shares were issued. So there are 2 cases when you can make a variation. One is SR and consent is required. But before that, power should be given or authorization should be given in the articles or memorandum of association. Clear, ma'am? If they will allow us that yes, you can vary the shareholders' rights, then only you can vary. Otherwise, you cannot make any variation. Clear. But nothing was written. It was silent. Okay, ma'am, if it is silent, then also we can do the variation. But if it was clearly written that any change or variation is prohibited, उन्होंने रिस्ट्रिक्शन लगाई हुई है, रोक लगाई हुई है। यार ऐसे तो मतलब हमने बोला कि वोटिंग राइट्स 10 मिलेंगे, आपने 11 कर लिए, अपनी मर्जी से शेयर होल्डर्स मीटिंग कर रहे हैं, सो दे विल तो कीप ऑन चेंजिंग एंड वेरिंग द शेयर होल्डर्स राइट। सो if they have prohibited, if they have written that there is no power, then and it is prohibited, so that means you cannot make any variation in the shareholders rights, then section 48 will not be applicable, then you cannot make any variation. So law says either it should be silent, nothing is written, or it should be written that it is allowed, or it should not be prohibited. रोक नहीं होनी चाहिए. It should not be prohibited by the terms of issue. Either the power should be given or it should be silent and it should have no prohibition. Interesting. Easy है. समझ आ रहा है. Is it clear to everyone? Internal restructure and wise variation. Yes, Kuldeep, absolutely. It requires variation in the rights if such kind of reconstructions is happening. Kabyajit, yes. Okay, good. All right, all right, all right. Let's move ahead. So now let's understand the process. What will happen? We have taken the consent of 3/4 of the value of shareholders. But ma'am, what about those 1/4 shareholders who are making faces and they're not happy with this variation? 3/4 gave their consent na ki hanji, you do the changes, we are okay with that. But 1/4 were silent. They did not say anything. So they are known as dissenting shareholders. Naraz. Those who are not accepting this thing, that why they are making this variation. I'm very upset with this. These are the upset shareholders, dissenting shareholders. What will they do? They have also the power. At least 10% of the issued shares of that class. So 1/4 of the shareholders who are dissented, who has not given their consent, if they are holding at least 10% of the issued share capital. So say, for example, A, B, and C were falling under the 1/4 of the shares. So the total share capital of the company is 1000 shares. इसका 10% कितना हो जाएगा? 100. So if they are holding 100 shares in totality, so A is holding 60, B is holding 10, C is holding 30. So they're holding at least 10% of the issued shares of that class. Then, and they did not consent or vote in favor, they will apply to the tribunal within 21 days to have the variation cancelled. They will go and call the tribunal and they will say, cancel this variation. We are not happy with this variation. But what is the condition? At least 1/4 of the shareholders are the dissenting one. They should be holding at least 10% of the issued shares of that class. They have not consented and they will apply to the tribunal within 21 days of the variation. Variation then will not take effect unless tribunal has given the consent. And whatever decision will be taken by the tribunal, that will be binding. And this tribunal decision has to be filed with the registrar within 30 days of the date of order. जब tribunal का order आएगा, 30 days में you need to file it with the registrar. So what is the process? I will explain you and then I'll give you a break in which you have to read the variation from the study material. Number one, you cannot vary the rights of the shareholders. You cannot change it. Number two, if you want to change the rights of particular class of shareholders, take their consent in writing of 3/4 of the value of shareholders, or special resolution will be passed in a separate. Clear. If this class A equity shares rights is also affecting class B shares, then ये तो करना ही है. SRN ये अपने shares का तो करना ही है. B shareholders का क्या करना होगा? Only the 3/4 consent in shareholdings has to be taken. SR is not required for B class shareholders. Write it in your notes. SR is not required in case of the B class shareholders. Okay, there only consent is needed. MOA and AOA should give the authorization. If no authorization is given, at least it should not give any prohibition that you cannot make the variation. Then the 1/4 of the dissenting shareholders, at least 10% of the value who are holding, will go and apply to the tribunal. Within how many days they apply to the tribunal? Within 21 days, they go and apply to the tribunal that cancel this variation. We don't want this variation to happen. Tribunal will go through their report, application. He will see if he's satisfied that this should not happen, then he will allow them to cancel the variation. Whatever order tribunal will pass, this order will have to be filed with the registrar within 30 days. Yes, Anil, both the things will be required if the shareholders' rights are being affected. But if other shareholders are affected, there only 3/4 consent is needed. Anil, for if it is affecting the other shareholders, then only one condition is required, that is 3/4. Okay. Not those people can move to the tribunal. Only the people who are dissenting shareholders will move to the tribunal. Anil Goldie. And now, if you had any doubts, write it in the chat box, main chat box. Mustafa has given a good answer, reply, so that everybody can read it and we can reply. Santosh is asking, ma'am, what is the meaning of AOA? AOA means Articles of Association. You will not write in the paper MOA or AOA. You will give full name. I have just written briefly for you. Okay. Yes, Adil, if it is silent, then that means no prohibition is there. We can do the variation. Then yes, you can. Something. Tribunal will pass the order. That I will let you know after the break. You have to go to the tribunal in 21 days. Okay, Navneet? All right, let's take a small break here. Go through section 47 and 48 from the study material. So we are taking a break here. Yes, students, welcome back to the class, everybody. So I hope you have read section 48. Shamli has written clear, ma'am. Jaya, Chavan. I told you to write your queries. Okay, Mustafa. Yes, Mustafa. Prajapati says it's clear. Mustafa, you wanted to ask something? All right. Aditya clear, Santosh clear, everybody's clear. So that's great. So let's move ahead and just let's have a look at the study material also, the sections that we have just covered. Variation of shareholders' rights. Three conditions needs to be seen. There should be a provision in memorandum not prohibiting 75% of the issued shares. So either you call it 75% of the issued shares of that class consent or 3/4, it's one the same thing. Or pass an SR. And if it is affecting the other class, consent of 3/4 of the other class is also obtained. Quickly tell me, do we need to pass SR also for this other class category? Yes or no? Do we need to pass SR also for this other class category? No is the correct answer. Wonderful. Yes, no. Mustafa, you don't need to pass SR for this. Shamli. One doubt, how reduction of capital does not amount to shareholder variation. Okay, Shamli, good question. I'll just answer you in a while. Okay, Navneet. What is meant by separate class meeting? Okay, Harsh Mishra, I will just answer you. Separate class meeting means the shareholders who are holding the separate class of shares. Okay, so I just told you in the example before going to the break, I was showing you, we have written it down also, that if A class shareholders' rights are being varied, then these A class shareholder will call their separate class meeting. It's no need to call the meeting of all the shareholders. So separate class meeting means only the respective shareholders whose rights are being affected, only that class of shareholders will come for and sit for the meeting. But if it is affecting the other class of shareholders, then their 3/4 consent will be required. However, SR is not required. And the dissenting shareholders holding at least 10% of the shares who have not casted their vote will apply to the tribunal, and this variation will not take effect unless it is confirmed by the tribunal. Now, somebody was asking that when will the tribunal give the order? Act is silent about the number of days when the tribunal will give the order. It says you make the application within 21 days from the date of consent or resolution. It can be made by one or more of their in number. They may appoint in writing on behalf of the shareholders. So if I have passed the resolution on 1st October 2023, that we are planning to do this variation and the resolution has been passed, then by 21st October, the dissenting shareholders, 10% of the share who are holding, should make this application to the tribunal. When is the tribunal going to pass its order? Once he will be satisfied, he will call up the shareholders, he will have the meetings, decisions will be taken. Whenever the decision of tribunal is taken, it will have the binding effect. Binding effect means it will be binding on all the shareholders. It will be effective. It will be legally applicable for all the shareholders. And now when the tribunal's order has come, please file it with the registrar within 30 days from the date of order. Is that clear? Okay. Now, DBS Chemicals issue ordinary shares of different class. They vary rights of one of the shares where there were only 105 holders. 100 out of 105 holders own 0.5% shares of that class. Total shareholders kitne? 105. 100 out of 105 are holding 0.5%, whereas the remaining 5 shareholders hold 10% of the shares of that class. Presuming 100 holder who own 0.5 already signed and authorized the consent letter, how many holders out of 5 need to authorize the said letter to approve the variation? Tell me, what is the correct answer for this MCQ? They say 3. 3 is the correct answer, yes or no? How will you calculate? Who is going to tell me? How will you calculate? Yes. Yes, Shamli says 3. How come 3? Tell me. Savya, good. Anil? No, class A. Okay, Anil has a question. Class A are getting to change the rights, no impact. So the condition should be. Yes, Anil, you're absolutely fine. In the first case, where my shares are being changed, I'm A class, both the conditions, or is there, either of the condition is required. In the second case, if I'm affecting class B shares, then my conditions are anyways required. Class B shares, 3/4 of the consent is required. All right, Anil, your query is clear now? Absolutely correct, Mr. Linga R. You simply have to do 75% of 5, and which comes out to be 3, because you cannot take the things in points when you do 3/4. 100 means 50%, and 3 needs with 10% be more than 3/4. Very good, Navneet. Absolutely correct. So 3 is the correct answer. Everybody got it? All right. All right. Yes, Mustafa. Great. Holders of at least 75% of the issued shares must have given their consent in writing or pass a resolution sanctioning the variation. Mind it, 75% of issued shares holders, not 75% of holders. That is what they were trying to tell you, but you have already understood it with me. So that's great. Now, new preference shares ranking pari passu with the existing shares does not mean the variation which requires the consent of preference shareholders. So there was a landmark judgment which gives you a better understanding about the variation word. So new preference shares were issued which are ranking pari passu with the existing shares. So if you are issuing a new category of preference shares which are almost similar to the equity shares, that is not the case of variation. Okay, here there is no variation. Variation means when the rights are being changed. When the rights are not being changed, but similar pari passu shares are being issued, then it's okay. No variation is happening. And the last point, cancellation of shares and reduction of share capital. Where did it go? Cancellation of shares and reduction of capital will not amount to variation of class rights. Now, children, when we will do reduction of share capital, it's a very large and important topic, section 66. In the next class, we will be covering this reduction of share capital. So when we do reduction of share capital, so we understand how the authorized share capital is changed in that case, how the changes happen, how the consolidation, subdivision will happen. Whatever we understand in section 66, it is not variation of shareholders' right. It is reducing of the capital. यहाँ पे हम राइट्स चेंज कर रहे हैं, शेयर्स के राइट्स चेंज हो रहे हैं. इट इज नॉट रिडक्शन ऑफ शेयर कैपिटल, नीदर वी आर कैंसिलिंग द शेयर्स. So when we are cancelling the shares, it is not variation, then it is a complete reduction. We are reducing its capital. What is the process of reduction? When we understand section 66, then you will get a better clarity. Understood? Somebody had a query related to this. I hope it's clear now. Yes, Kuldeep, it's in value. 3/4 of the issued shares, not the holders. Okay. Okay, Geeta, Deepika, everybody clear? That's great. All right, Pooja, that's good. Now let's move ahead. Section 49 to 51 is very, very simple sections. Quickly, we'll go through these sections and complete it. And then we have another big topic coming up, that is redemption of preference shares for today's class. So section 47, 48 is done. 49 is just a blink of eye. Calls should be made on uniform basis. So when the share allotment is done, we receive the application money from the public and company does share allot. Then we call the money on application money, 5 rupees, allotment money, 4 rupees, first call, 3 rupees, second call, 2 rupees. This is how you have understood in the accounts. First application money, allotment money, first call, second call. This is how it happens. Now, law says, section 49 of Companies Act says, all these calls which are made by the company to the shareholders to pay the amount in respect of partly paid up securities. If there is an A class equity share, A shareholder who has paid ₹10 fully paid up, तो उसको थोड़ी ना मैं फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड कॉल करूंगी. अगर उसने पूरे पैसे दे दिए तो फिर तो कोई कॉल्स रहती नहीं है. बट बी एंड सी ने अभी दिए हैं ₹88, सी ने दिए हैं ₹6. तो अगर शेयर ₹10 का है and I have decided as a company to call ₹2 more, then I will ask B also to pay ₹2 more. I will ask C also only to pay ₹2 more. Means whenever the call will be made for the shares, it will always be on uniform basis. Uniform means same. Uniform means similar basis, same basis. Means you cannot do any partiality with the share. So let's assume there are two categories of series of shares. One is A series of shares in which you have 1, 2 category. It is 10 paid up, it is 8 paid up. Then you have B category of shares, 1, 2, 3. Here it is 5 paid up, 4 paid up, and 3 paid. So if I have decided to call ₹2 for them, then for both of them, this is fully paid up, no call is required here. I can call on the basis of ₹2. Now for another class category of shares, that is B class share, I have decided to call ₹1. So it should be uniform for this class of the share. I can only call ₹1 for each of the shares falling in B. It is not that if I'm calling 2 for A, it will be 2 for B also. For a respective class of shares, I can call the money on different basis, but it should be uniform for that particular class of share. It says where the calls are made for the further share capital are made on the shares of a class. Such calls will be made on uniform basis on all the shares under that class. उस respective category, series and class of shares में जो call करते हैं, उनके लिए आपको uniform calls करना. I cannot say that A, you give me ₹2 and B, say for example, there are 3 shareholders, A, B and C. I cannot say A, you pay me ₹2, B, you have to pay me ₹4 and C, you pay me ₹6. If I am a company, I'm making calls, I should make uniform 2, 2, 2 for each, or I should make 4, 4, 4 for each, whatever is the amount. But if the category of shares is different, then that particular category, the calls should be uniform for each of them. Simple. Section 49 is over. Section 50 and 51 in one slide. Calls in advance. बहुत अच्छे से पढ़ा हुआ है मैम, हम तो शेयर कैपिटल एंड डिबेंचर्स शुरू से पढ़ते आ रहे हैं. We have good knowledge about share capital and debentures. So what is the meaning of calls in advance? Company asked you to pay rupees out of ₹100 per share. Company has invited the applications and you have paid ₹80 was supposed to be paid. You have paid ₹80. Instead of ₹80, you paid ₹90. You paid ₹10 as an advance money. So the first point is company will accept this advance only if it is authorized by AOA. From any member, the whole or a part of the amount remaining unpaid, although no part of that amount has been called up. Children, please understand, one is paid up share capital, one is called up. Called up means कितनी calls लगाई हमने. अभी बोला है सबको ₹10 के शेयर में से 6 should be paid. A paid 6, B paid 6, C paid 8. So ₹2 is calls in advance. I as a company have only called ₹6. You have paid ₹8 means ₹2 by C is a calls in advance. Anubhav, we have already answered your query also. Now you have joined the class. I was looking for you. So Anubhav, the query that you have raised in the last class also, I told you, once again, I'm telling you. So the minimum subscription for prospectus you have to see will be 90%. Okay, so 90% of the minimum subscription should have been received. So it says that 80% as per the prospectus in that illustration. That's why it was not legal, because minimum subscription has not been received. So what you have to consider is 90% of the minimum subscription. For the application money, we take 5%. If it is a listed company, then we take 25% in that. Is that clear, Anubhav? All right. Okay, let's come back to share capital and debentures now. Who will be bound to call the share meeting or the share of the shareholders? Shareholders will himself, Kuldeep. Shareholders will call the meeting, then they will only decide the variation. This section, Arun Sagar is asking, ma'am, if this section is applicable to preference shareholder as well. Yes, all these sections. 49, you're asking 49, 50, Arun? Absolutely, they're applicable. Okay, for them also you have to make the uniform calls. Navneet is asking, ma'am, what is 5% or 25% of application money? Now, you all want to go to the prospectus back. So, Navneet, application money, minimum subscription, 90% should have been done. Then we allot the shares. The second condition was minimum application money received. So, I told you, application money allotment, first call, second call, this is how you take the money. So, 5% of the nominal value should have been received. Then only I allot the shares. But as per SEBI guidelines, specifically for the listed companies, the minimum application quotation is given as 25% of the nominal. And this is what I expect you all to write in the exam if the minimum application is being asked. Is that clear? Yes, Anil, first call, panel call also is there. That's okay. Thank you, Navneet. Anubhav, I hope your query is also now clear. Okay, Anubhav. Of course, prospectus has binding, but then the Act, Section 39 of the Companies Act tells us the minimum subscription. All right, that has to be followed. You can give more in that. So if you have given 95%, then minimum 90% is done, it's okay. Yes, Harsh Mishra, then you have to go for the 90%. All right, good. Thank you, Anubhav. I'm glad you've understood it now. That's great. Harsh Mishra, now you don't get confused. Thank you, Navneet. Thank you for the compliment. That's your appreciation that motivates me to keep you happy all the time. All right, thank you. So now let's come back to calls in advance. You all took me back to section 39 and 40 of the companies. Now section 50, calls in advance. Number one, it has to be authorized by articles. Then only we can accept the calls in advance on the amount remaining, any amount which is remaining on the unpaid shares. Such advance amount will not entitle the member to have more voting rights as compared to others until they have been called. Now, let's understand with the help of example. There was shareholder A, B, C, and D. There was a share of rupees 100 each. A has paid rupees 10 on this. Called up amount was 50 and A has paid 15. Called up amount was 50 and B has paid 60. Called up amount is 50. C has paid 80 and D has paid on the called up amount of 50, 45. Calls in arrears. Here it is calls in arrears. He is still to balance to pay for the 5 rupees. Here it is call in advance. Here it is call in advance. Is that correct, all of you account students? So out of 100, 50 company has called, A has paid 50, B has paid 60, C has paid 80, and D has paid 45, that is 8. Now, for each share, you get one voting right. So if you have paid up 50, let's assume there is one share of rupees 50. So you will get the voting right. With respect to 50, you get 5 voting rights over here. So should I get 6 voting rights over here and should I get 8 voting rights over here? Law says absolutely no. You will only get 5 voting rights here. Even if you have paid advance money, then also whatever amount has been called by the company, your voting rights will not increase. आपके पास पैसे ज्यादा थे तो आपने दे दिए कंपनी को, कोई बात नहीं, कंपनी ने रख लिए खुशी खुशी, वोटिंग राइट्स ज्यादा मत मांगने बैठ जाए. In English, you had enough money, so you paid in advance to the company. Company is very happy because anybody who is getting advance money will be happy with it. Okay, so but the voting rights will not be increased. They will be limited to the amount which has been called by the company. Is that clear? However, law says interest can be paid on such advance. अब आपने मेहरबानी करी है, पैसा एक्स्ट्रा दिया है, तो चलो आपको इंटरेस्ट दे दे. वो भी अगर आर्टिकल अलाउ करेगा, हर जगह आर्टिकल्स की परमिशन ले लेना बेटा. एओए पढ़ा था ना आपने, आर्टिकल्स ऑफ एसोसिएशन, इंटरनल रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस. आर्टिकल्स कहेगा तो कॉल्स इन एडवांस लेना है. आर्टिकल्स में नहीं लिखा कॉल्स इन एडवांस लेना है, विल बी टेक दी कॉल्स इन एडवांस if it is not written in the articles? Will you take the no, ma? Absolutely correct. But if it is authorized and if it is giving you the permission to pay interest also, then you have to give them interest, whereas the rate of interest permitted on the articles on such advance payment. Okay. If the company is authorized by the articles, it may be permitted to pay dividend in proportion to the amount paid on each year. Now, this is also very, very logical. Dividend should be paid in proportion to the amount paid up on each year. 100 shares, 100 per share. You have paid 20, he has paid 30, you have paid 40. तो dividend किस पे मिलेगा? 20 paid up, उस पे मिलेगा. 30 paid up, उस पे मिलेगा. 40 paid up है तो 40 paid up पे मिलेगा. वोटिंग राइट उसी पे मिलेंगे जिस पे कॉल्स हुई थी. डिविडेंड उस पे मिलेगा जितना पेड अप. ये डिफरेंस है सेक्शन 50 एंड सेक्शन 51 में, that whatever you are paid up, you get the dividend with respect to the paid up amount. Whatever is called, you get voting rights respective to the calls. For advance money, you don't get voting rights. However, interest can be paid on such advance if it is permitted by the articles. Children, section 49, 50, 51 sound so simple, but when it comes in the MCQs, you have to be very careful. Give it good thought when you're doing, when you have learned the content, MCQs become very, very simple for you. Let me give you one small tip for how to do the MCQs in the exam. Today also in the class, I'll be doing certain MCQs with you. So generally what happens is in CA intermediate paper, we get some reading time also for these MCQs. So the general conception is whenever I see any MCQ, the general human intention is we quickly jump to the answers to see what will be the correct answer. होता है MCQ चीज ही ऐसी है, मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चंस है, ऑप्शंस दी हुई है और हमें इजी लगता है, लेट मी रीड द आंसर देन आई विल फाइंड इट आउट व्हाट इज द करेक्ट आंसर. Now this is absolutely a wrong approach to be followed in the exam. Here is the approach that I'm going to tell you. Read the question twice very carefully, because by the time children you go to give the exams, so much of information is there in your brain. As of now, we are just on chapter number 4. So if I recall prospectus, you would have said come back to your mind. Preliminary, okay, incorporation. I'll be talking about entrenchment also in a while, and I'm going to ask you for that because you have read about entrenchment in chapter number 2. So all these topics we keep on revising, doing, so it's fresh in our mind. But when you will be sitting in your exam, you have done Companies Act, LP, FEMA, every other things would have been there in your mind. So how will you absorb the information and how will you understand? Read the MCQ twice. Then think about the chapter or connection that comes to your mind, the answer that comes to your mind without reading the options. What answer is coming to your mind? And then try to read the options, whether your mind and what is written over there has any similarity or not. 90% your MCQs will be correct if you do in this approach. That's why I said the human intention is that we try to jump to the, कभी भी देख लेना, कोई एक्टिविटी भी करोगे ना, कोई मैथ्स का भी सम करोगे ना, कुछ कोई गेम के लिए भी, कोई जहां पे ऑप्शंस दी होती है, we already फटाफट से try to read the options. So that is human tendency. So but in exam, don't read the options, don't try to find out, okay, figure out, because there will be similar kind of options given: 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 45 days. Oh my God, you have read all these number of days in each chapter. So remember what the question is asking. As per the question, how many number of days is logically coming to your mind, or whatever you have learned is coming to your mind, then read the options. You will always be correct. Clear? Sounds logical? All right. Okay, let's move ahead now. So let's open the module and continue the topics from the module. Okay, thank you, Kuldeep. Advance calls is only possible with board resolution without shareholders' consent. It's totally wrong to make. Absolutely correct. They will have to take the permission first, has to be given in the articles also, Anil. Then only you can take the board's resolution for calling the money in advance and accepting the money in advance. I am not calling in advance. It's about if you have paid in advance, then you don't get the voting rights. Promotion, finding investors. Okay, Arun Sagar, you're asking something. Yes, yes, that will be taken care by the underwriters. That's why they get commission of 5% and 2.5%, Arun. That's absolutely correct. We have discussed this under section 40. Definitely, Mr. Mustafa, you must keep making the chart for the penalties and also for the forms. We have done 3 forms till now. SH1, share certificate. SH2, duplicates and replaced. SH3, aap batao. SH3 was for what? Sweaty pictures. Thank you, Ms. Shilinga. Rights regarding, yes, Savya Khan, absolutely correct. They will get the rights related to 50 only. Yes, Anil, definitely. They were only paying the advance. We are not asking them to pay. That's why we are talking about in section 50, that how it will become voting rights. They might ask for more voting rights, na, that I have paid you more, give me voting rights. So in that context, the act is telling. Now, uniform money, everybody is clear. Partly paid up share is enforced by making the calls for payments. So section 49 tells you that uniform money has to be called. Usually the share with same nominal value is considered as same class. But shares of same nominal value on which different sums have been paid shall not deemed to fall under the same class. The same example that I took with you in my notes, that if it is class A shares, 40, 50 has been paid, 40 has been paid, class B shares, 30 has been paid, 20 has been paid. So it is a separate class. I can say that I want to call rupees 2 per share here. I can say I want to call rupees 1 per share. So it is absolutely fine. A shareholder on whom regular call for payment has been served may choose to pay only part of the sum due. So if I had to pay rupees 100 and I've already paid rupees 80, so I will only pay rupees 20. No, I don't have to pay more than that, right? So he can choose to pay whatever sum is due, whatever amount is now pending. Again, sounds very logical. It is important to consider the debt of calls made is not an entire indivisible debt. Company may be bound to accept the amount tendered by the share. How much to call on partly paid up share? This will be the decision of board. Here comes, Anil, your query of asking for the money on partly paid up shares. Here, board's decision has to be taken subject to articles and terms of issues clause. Now, what happened? There was a shareholder who had to pay on the first call on the application 20 rupees. Okay. On allotment, he paid 25 rupees. Then he had to pay again 25 rupees and 30 rupees pending on the final call. So 20, 50, 100. 100 बन रहा है ना पूरा. So this was the 100 rupees share breakup. Listen very carefully. There was a shareholder A who had to pay on the application 20 rupees, allotment 25 rupees, first call 25 and final call 30. So he paid his application money on time and he paid the allotment money also on time. But on the first call, he took a lot of time. So he said, directors, it says how much to call and partly pay. Directors will take the call. So director said, now you pay whole of 55 rupees. You are taking it so long. Others, we have asked them to pay 25, but you pay 55. Can we be so much impartial to any of the shareholder? So it says company is not bound to force them. Decision of board of directors have to be taken, but you have to go as per articles and terms of issue. What does the terms of issue say? That we have to make uniform calls. If you have asked everyone 25, you cannot force him to pay the entire indivisible debt. Is that clear? You cannot force them to make the whole of the amount. Prism Glass Limited issued 3 series of equity shares carrying a nominal value of 100 and the paid up was 100, 80 and 55. Now, every class is a different class of shares. Since for the first class fully paid up, so no calls to be made. For the remaining 2 classes, calls can be made. कितनी calls कर सकते हैं? 20 rupees की call कर सकते हैं और दूसरे के लिए 45 rupees की call. Clear है? A shareholder paid the first 2 calls after a great delay and neglected to pay. This question is given here also. And directors, being annoyed, called him to pay the whole amount. A call can't be made on some of the members only unless they consist of a separate class of shareholders. Therefore, this call is invalid. ये सारी जो illustrations child इन्होंने दी होती है, they are very important because they can be the basis of question in the exam. So do read them, okay? Yes, no partiality is allowed. Absolutely correct. Calls in advance, everything is clear. I hope no need to read this again. A rate of 6% may increase to 10%. That can be done. It can be varied. Okay, if articles permit, then they can change it. But, yes, I told you I will be asking something related to entrenchment. So who is going to raise their hand? I have not heard your voice whole evening. Who is going to tell me what is entrenchment? Only one hand raised. Anil raised his hand. Nobody else? Nobody else knows what is entrenchment? Huh? Yes, Anil.
Ma'am, as per articles of association, like it is very tough to change
As per articles of
entrenchment
don't
provisions.
as per Companies Act.
Like as per the provisions of Companies Act, it is very tough to change entrenchment provisions. SR is
To put
required
it in a better
to be
way, we can
passed.
say entrenchment is a provision in the articles which is very difficult to be changed. I think that will be better.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? Anybody else? Good, Anil. At least you tried. Very good. Else want to say something? No? Okay, let me introduce entrenchment over here. So it says the interest that I'm paying on calls in advance will be permitted by AOA, by articles. And you all know that articles can be altered. Can we alter the articles? Yes or no? Yes, ma'am. Chapter number 2, we have studied alteration of memorandum is also possible. Alteration of articles is also possible. And when children come to know about alteration of memorandum, they feel so surprised that we have been learning so much about doctrine of ultra vires. Nothing is possible if you go out of memorandum, but in CA intermediate, we learned the first chapter only that memorandum can be altered also. Did you understand? Did you learn about that? So this is the mystery when we start doing the things in detail. Yes, absolutely. Mustafa has written a beautiful line that study material is the Bible. Read it in whole and complete. Definitely you will get all the benefit. इसी में से आना paper. Everything will be going to come out from this. Keep learning it, keep revising it, and keep listening. Okay, let's not deviate. So, articles can be altered. You have read about that. But now I want to introduce an entrenchment provision. because my dear shareholders will come together and 3/4 on value special resolution they'll pass and they will change this interest amount also, because वो लिखा है ना, rate of interest is permitted by the articles and it can be varied by the shareholders. तो shareholders तो change कर देंगे, मीटिंग करेंगे, एसआर पास करेंगे, 6% है, चलो यार 10% कर देते हैं ना, हम सब लोग एडवांस पे करेंगे और हमें कंपनी 10% इंटरेस्ट देगी. Beneficial, sounding beneficial for the shareholders, so they can do. So I tried to act smart. I introduced entrenchment in my articles and I said interest will be varied only if all the members agree. So it is made restrictive. Entrenchment is a provision which says making the provisions in the article little more restrictive. Restrictive provisions means now all the members will say yes, then only the things will happen. So if all the members agree, then you vary it from 6 to 10%, I don't mind. But as of now, you were just doing it by the simple shareholders meeting in the general. Clear? Everybody understood? This was just to connect the point of entrenchment with this interest rate. Okay. So Coriander Masala Limited has issued 10 lakh equity shares of rupees 10 each, on which 6 per share has been called till allotment. How much is pending? 4 rupees is still pending. 4 is yet to be called. Reena is holding 10,000 shares on which she has paid whole of rupees 10 per share. So 10,000 into 10, 1 lakh shares. In the upcoming extraordinary general meeting, she wants to exercise her voting right as the owner of fully paid up shares. Company cannot permit, as she does not have the voting right on the advance. Why the company is not permitting her? Why can't she vote on the full? She has paid rupees 10 per share. Can anyone tell me, is there any mistake in this question? Yes, please raise your hands and explain me. Why Reena can't exercise full voting rights? Why? What's the problem? Who is going to answer me? Okay, Pooja B. Yes.
Because the called up is only rupees 6 rupees.
And rupees 4 is?
Advance what is?
Can I pay interest on this rupees 4?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Thank you, Pooja. Good. Understood? Read this illustration. Anyone has any doubts, ask me. Valid है? Clear? Okay. Section 51. Everybody is clear? Directors may decide to pay dividend on proportionate basis if all the shares are not equally paid up. However, for preference shares, very, very important. Another MCQ line. छोटी सी लाइन लिख देता है वो, आप पढ़ोगे भी नहीं, आप बोलोगे पता तो लग गया, मैम ने बोला था प्रोपोर्शन ऑफ पेड अप कैपिटल है, हो गया. तो चलो जी, प्रेफरेंस शेयर कैपिटल है एंड इक्विटी शेयर कैपिटल. प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को हमने बोला 10 में से अगर 8 पे करा है तो 8 पे डिविडेंड, 7 पे करा है तो 7 पे डिविडेंड, 6 करा है तो 6 पे डिविडेंड. सो प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स को भी ऐसे करूं, 10 पे 8 पे ऐसे करूं क्या? नो मैम, 8% प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स, 7% उनका तो डिविडेंड फिक्स्ड है, उनको तो 10 दे भी नहीं रहे हम, जितना फिक्स्ड है. प्रेफरेंस शेयर होल्डर्स आर ऑलवेज पेड अ फिक्स्ड रेट और फिक्स्ड अमाउंट, दोनों चीजें होती हैं, या रेट फिक्स्ड होता है या फिर फिक्स्ड अमाउंट डिसाइड होता है. Okay, Pooja, Malal, welcome to the class. I'm glad to know it's your first day. I hope you're enjoying the class. And you can also ask your doubts. The way you have written in the chat box, you can ask your doubts here. When section 48, subsection 1 is applicable. Okay, Aditya, I'll just tell you. Kabyajit says not called up. That's clear. Very good, Navneet, for that answer. That's great. Okay. Clear हो गया? Now, 48 subsection 1. क्या पूछा आपने उसमें? क्या नहीं समझ आ रहा? So 48 tells you that 3 conditions have to be satisfied. The first 2 are stated in subsection 1. So subsection 1 tells you that there should not be any prohibition and 75% in the class meeting. So क्या नहीं समझ आया? किसने पूछा ये question? Somebody was asking subsection 1 will become applicable. कौन पूछ रहा था? Who was asking? Yes, Aditya. Tell me. Aditya.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, Aditya.
In subsection 48, subsection 1, how to
How to
how
apply
to
it?
3 is how to 3 comes, there's a confusion on that question.
What is your confusion? Tell me, child.
The DBS Chemicals Limited, how 3 comes, there's a confusion on that.
Which page are you talking about?
Page
This
number
page.
4.18.
Okay. So did you do 3/4 of the 5 shareholders? The 5% of the holding, 10% of the shares that they're holding?
10%.
Yes. What does it come out to be?
10%.
3.6 something? When we do 3/4 of the consent?
To 10%.
Hmm?
Zero.
So just write it down in the chat box, the calculation that you have done. I will just correct it. Okay? Somebody else is also trying to say something. You're not supposed to speak without raising your hands, child. Even if she has paid full money, she can get extra right. Yes, Arun Sagar, even if full amount has been paid, she will not get any extra voting rights. All right. Aditya, you do your calculation. I will just check it in a while. All right. So we have completed section 49, 50 and 51. Now I'm going to do a small section 52 with you. And again, I will give you a small break so that, yes, Anubhav.
Ma'am, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I have texted you. Is it not visible?
Okay, I'll just see your message.
Okay, ma'am.
You had a
Thank you.
query? Kabyajit has written something. Okay, Kabyajit, I'll just reply you in a while. 0.075 it's coming. Okay, Aditya, I'll just explain you in a while how you have to calculate. Anubhav, what are you asking? Can the director ask the amount from the particular, like A and B? Can board of directors ask for all the remaining? I just explained you this, Anubhav, that directors cannot force them to pay more amount. Any uniform amount that you have called, definitely it will be for the same for all the shareholders. Okay? We cannot say that whatever remaining amounts are left, you have to pay them. If you are making a uniform call of rupees 10 per share, B का 20 pending है तो 10 ही चले. आप force नहीं कर सकते. Clear, Anubhav? Abhinav Mishra is also asking something. Excellent, Abhinav Mishra. Let me see your detailed calculation in a while and comment you back whether it's correct or not. Okay, Anubhav, your query has been solved. That's great. Anybody else having any query now? Kabyajit has also asked the same question. I'll just answer you in a while. Meanwhile, I have opened section 52, which is your favorite section. Now, once the same question came in exam, in accounts also and law also. Now, this question you've already done very nicely in accounts. See, children, the day one when I started with you, share capital and debentures, I told you that these are similar topics which we have been studying in accounts also. So the favorite question which comes in accounts is, can the shares be issued at premium? First of all, tell me yes or no. If it is a 100 rupees share, can I say in my prospectus, I am issuing the shares of rupees 120? So 20 rupees is the premium that I'm charging for my shares. Everybody says yes, ma'am. That's great. So shares can be issued at premium. Premium is the difference between the issue price and face value of the shares. When the shares are issued at premium, where does the amount get transferred? Where will this 100 rupees is the nominal value? Where is this 20 rupees going to go? 20 rupees will go to SPA, Securities Premium Account. And this will be treated as part of the paid up share capital. Except as provided, provisions related to reduction of capital shall apply as if securities premium for the paid up share capital of the company. Now here he is talking something related to reduction of share capital, which I'm not going to touch over here because that is part of section 66. I will explain you when we go over it. As of now, this premium amount will go to securities premium. What are the 5 uses for which securities premium amount can be used? Number 1, for issuing the unissued shares of the company to the members of the company. So there were 100 total shares of the company. They have issued 10 shares, 90 shares were still unissued. So these 90 shares can be issued by using the money from this securities premium amount. Writing of the preliminary expenses. The preliminary expenses are the expenses incurred before the incorporation of the company. For writing of those expenses also, this security premium amount can be used. For writing out any of the issue expenses, including commission or discount allowed on the shares, premium amount can be used. It is also used for payable on premium payable on redemption. What is the meaning of redemption? What is the meaning of redemption of preference shares or debentures? What do you understand by the word redemption? Redemption means to repay the debentures. It's not buyback. It's repaying. On maturity, you repay the debentures and preference shares. And premium is payable on that also. So it is used for paying that premium. Buyback, purchase of its own shares or other securities. For buyback of securities also, security premium is used. Now, how you have to learn it? For learning, security premium is used for issuing unissued shares, preliminary writing of the preliminary expenses, writing of the issue expenses, which includes commission or discount. Premium, again, it is a security premium amount. Premium से ही आया है, redemption की premium पे भी pay करना है. And buyback. So you can make abbreviations or mnemonics of these, and then you can learn it. It's very, very simple. However, subsection 3 has an overriding effect. Companies whose financial statements are being prepared as per the accounting standards of section 133. When we do accounts of companies, there we understand what is section 133. As of now, any companies which are preparing their accounting standards as per 133, for the purpose of these companies issue fully paid up bonus shares, writing of the issue expenses, and buyback of securities. It says whose financial statements comply with accounting standards. So there is an exemption, overriding effect has been given that it can be only used for these 3 purposes. For preliminary and for premium on redemption, it will not be utilized. All right. So companies can use security premium for 3 purposes. But if it is a company following accounting standards, then only for 3 uses. Bonus, writing of issue expenses, and buyback. What 2 are not included here? Quickly in the chat box. Arun, if he has not paid the shares will get forfeit, right? Preliminary, very good, Kabyajit. And the second is premium on shares are issued with premium dividend. Yes, Mustafa, absolutely. I will explain you that point also. Who is going to decide and what's the procedure? For what procedure, Anil? Securities premium. Companies Act has decided that it can be used for these purposes. Okay. So when we do redemption of preference shares in detail, you will understand about this. Very good, Navneet. Absolutely correct answer. Linga, good. Everybody has given the correct answers. All right. So we have done 5 new sections. Let's take a small break here because I want to show you certain MCQs also. Anil, are you clear now? Okay. So just quickly revise these sections that we have done because many interesting questions are coming up for you. So there will be a test also and we'll complete redemption for preference shares also. Let's take a small break here. Let's proceed ahead. Time for certain questions also, but let me first resolve your calculation where you were having a problem. So Anubhav Mishra, I've seen your calculation also. There's a little bit difference what you have done. Let me explain you all in a very, very simple way. Okay. So I've made a small note for you to write it so that you don't have any kind of confusion in this. Where was it, children? Section 48 का जो question DBS वाला. Aajo sabhi. So what is he trying to tell you? Let's write it down so that you understand. Basic maths hai, pata nahi kyun confuse ho. How many holders are there? Total shareholders, 105. Out of them, 100 shareholders are holding how many value of shares? 0.5% of the shares of that class. So 100 shareholders are holding 0.5 shares. So what is the value of shares that they're holding? 50% shares they're holding. Is this correct? The remaining 5 shareholders, what are they holding? They are holding 10% of the shares of that class. So there are 5 shareholders who are holding 10%. Now, when these 10% have made an application, what is the problem he's asking? Each one of them is having 10%, 10, 10, 10, 10. So 5% are holding 10% means 50% of the share value is here. So I need the consent of 75% of the shareholders. 100 shareholders who are holding 0.5 has given their consent. So how many consent I have, children? 50% of the share value has already given their consent. Everybody is right now on this page. Clear? 50% have given their consent. So out of this 5 shareholders, everybody is holding 10. How many do I need to add? 10, 1, 10, 2, 10 एक और add कर दूंगी तो 80%. I cannot take 5 out of this, no? 75 करने के लिए. So how many more shareholders? 3 holders more are required in order to make it at least 75%. I hope it's now clear to everyone. Yes. Let me see the chat box. Why only? Okay, Kuldeep. This is another query. I will just go on this. But first, tell me this point. Is it okay? Thank you, Aditya. It's clear now. That's great. Ma'am, subsection 3 is not clear. Harsh Mishra, kiska subsection 3 is not clear? Kaun si section ka beta? Adil Khan. Okay, everybody's clear on this. Good. All right. So, where did that query go? Absolutely correct, Shamli. Pooja B. संतोष कुमार. संतोष कुमार समझ आ गया? हिंदी में भी बता दिए बेटा. हर्ष मिश्रा is asking section 52 का subsection 3. Okay. And कव्यजीत ने क्या पूछा था? कुलदीप ने, sorry. Section 49 on note 1, page 19. Okay. Page 19. This note, Kabbajit, it simply tells you that variation is not reduction of capital. We have done this point already. That this will not. Yes, Kul.
Madam, नीचे वाला point.
Which one, child? Which one? This one?
Like this one.
This one, first point.
Yes,
So,
first one.
I explained you this point in my presentation when I told you there are 2 categories of shares, A class shares and B class shares. A class में 3 shareholders है, 1, 2, 3, जिन्होंने 10 रुपए पे करा, ₹12 पे करा, ₹14 पे। बी में है जिन्होंने ₹10 पे करा, ₹12, ₹50, वट एवर, नॉमिनल वैल्यू सेम है बट डिफरेंट कैटेगरी ऑफ शेयर। अब कंपनी अगर पैसे मंगवा रही है ₹2, तो सबसे ₹2 मंगवाएगी ए क्लास शेयर। बी क्लास में वो सपोज कहती है ₹3, तो यहाँ पे सबसे ₹3 मंगवाएगी। मतलब एक पर्टिकुलर क्लास ऑफ शेयर्स में यूनिफॉर्मिटी होनी चाहिए। सेपरेट क्लास में आप डिफरेंट सम्स मंगवा सकते हो, बट अंडर द सेम क्लास इट शुड बी दी यूनिफॉर्म। क्लियर कुलदीप?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
गॉट इट? ओके। अब किसका डाउट था? सेक्शन 52 सबसेक्शन 3। सेक्शन 52 सबसेक्शन 3। सेक्शन 52 तो मैंने कराया ही नहीं अभी। सेक्शन 53 का वही समझने वाला था, उसी में डाउट आ गया। हाँ, सब सेक्शन 3 ये बोलता है, पहले तो ये समझ आ गया ना सबको कि हमने शेयर्स प्रीमियम पे इशू करते हैं, सिक्योरिटी प्रीमियम अमाउंट में जाएगा एंड पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल का अमाउंट होता है। इट कैन बी रिड्यूस्ड इन द सेम। सो वो सेक्शन 66 बताए। हाँ, एंड दिस विल बी यूज फॉर फुली पेड बोनस शेयर्स, प्रीलिमिनरी, सबको समझ आ गया। वो कहते हैं जो क्लास ऑफ कंपनीज है जिनकी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स ऑफ 133 के अकॉर्डिंग बनी है। अब अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स की आपने डेफिनेशन करी थी चैप्टर नंबर 1 में, सेक्शन 133 डिफाइन करता है हाउ द अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स हैव बीन डिफाइंड। सो इफ यू आर मेकिंग योर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट एज पर दिस, then you can only use it for fully paid bonus shares, writing of issue expenses and buying. Here you can write down, then you will not use the security premium amount. Then here you will not use the security premium amount for writing of preliminary expenses and for paying of the premium on redemption. Clear हो गया? अब हम करेंगे सेक्शन 53, प्रोहिबिशन ऑन इशू ऑफ शेयर्स एट डिस्काउंट। क्वेश्चंस भी कराने थे यार, डाउट से नहीं कर सकते। चलो, शेयर्स हम अगर डिस्काउंट पे, क्या हम शेयर्स डिस्काउंट पे इशू कर सकते हैं? यस और नो, फटाफट से अकाउंट स्टूडेंट्स। नो मैम, वी कैन नॉट इशू द शेयर्स ऑन डिस्काउंट because then everybody will so happy that we'll get discount. It's not the clothes that we are selling in a market that okay ₹10 का नहीं तो चलो ₹4 का ले लो, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना। इस करके कंपनी अलाउ नहीं करती है डिस्काउंट इशू करना, अदरवाइज एवरीबडी विल बी लाइक ओके ओके गिव मी आल्सो लिटिल रीजनेबल, गिव मी आल्सो डिस्काउंट ऑन दिस, एवरीबडी विल स्टार्ट आस्किंग फॉर डिस्काउंट। Okay Aditya, don't worry, first you have to complete the syllabus, learn whatever we are doing in the class, then you go to the RTPs and MTPs. Never jump to the RTPs without doing the full syllabus. Okay, that's why you got scared and confused. Never do that. Yes, Abhinav Mishra, that is available to employees. You have written yourself. Absolutely, Shamli. Only in the case of sweat equity shares it's allowed, not in the other cases. Good. Thank you so much, Mustafa, for always writing so many good things. I'm so blessed to have students like you. I'm glad that all your doubts are getting solved and you are enjoying the class. All right. So now shares cannot be issued at discount. That is absolutely correct. But then what happened? There are two cases in which the shares can be issued at discount. Number one is sweat equity shares. We all know that sweat equity shares can be issued at discount. A share of face value of 100 is being issued at 95. So it is a ₹5 discount. The title of section used the word prohibited, but the discount is not fully prohibited. Shares, sweat equity shares can be issued at discount. And second wala ye samjhane wala, it is for statutory resolution plan and debt restructuring scheme के केस में आप shares at discount issue कर सकते हो. When you are giving when the company is issuing the discount shares to the creditors, now what happens is there is a debt restructuring scheme. Statutory मतलब legal कोई plan है. Legal कब होता है? जब कोई insolvent हो जाती है कंपनी या bankrupt हो जाती है. तो as per insolvency and bankruptcy code के according, आप शेयर्स डिस्काउंट पे इशू कर सकते हो उन केसेस में जहां पे स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट और डेट रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग स्कीम. There was a company, ABC Limited. It had a huge debt of 20 crore rupees. It had to pay 20 crore rupees to its creditors. But the company was crying badly because it did not have 20 crore rupees to pay to the creditors. So they said, creditors, can we do a structure with you? Can we restructure this debt? If you allow us, can we issue you the equity shares at discount equivalent to this amount of 20 crores credit? So you're converting your debt into equity. Simple. Whenever you have to pay the amount to the creditors and you don't have money, you can convert your debt into equity shares. At that time, you can issue the shares at discount, or there is a statutory compliance required by insolvency or bankruptcy, or when you're issuing sweat equity shares. In तीनों cases में कर देना. इसके अलावा, apart from this, if you issue shares at discount, there is a very big penalty on it because it's void, it's not allowed. So in accordance to the guidelines of RBI, ये इसके लिए था debt restructuring. If you don't comply with section 53, section 53 के साथ कैसे compliance होगा? अगर sweat equity करा तो कोई बात नहीं, debt restructuring करी तो कोई बात नहीं, statutory compliance करा तो कोई बात नहीं. इसके अलावा Mr. A आपका friend है, you issued him shares at discount, then every officer who is in default will be fined equivalent to the amount raised by the issue of shares at discount of 5 lakh, whichever is less, and refund all the money back with interest at the rate of 12% per annum. 12% का इंटरेस्ट लग रहा है. प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट वाला सेम है, याद है ना? प्राइवेट प्लेसमेंट में 12% था, यहाँ पे भी ऐसे याद कर. 53 में 12%, 42 में. All the money has to be refunded, 12% interest has to be paid, and amount equal to the amount of shares raised at discount or 5 lakh, whichever is less, will be charged. So write down this penalty in your chart today because you have to learn this penalty. Restrictions given under 52 and 53 are only in respect of shares, either equity and preference, but not to the issue of any debt-related products whose pricing is mostly governed by yield to maturity. कहते हैं debentures and bonds से related नहीं है. Section 72 में जब पढ़ेंगे debentures तब समझेंगे. यहाँ पे ये जो भी बातें कर रहे हैं, issue of shares at discount and issue of shares at premium की बात कर रहे हैं. Shares means equity and preference. It will not include debentures and bonds. Clear? Still any doubts? Ask me. Please allow me to do some questions with you now. Now it's my time to ask you doubts and questions. चलो हो जाओ रेडी. नवनीत, पेनल्टी क्या नहीं समझ आई बेटा अगर आपने किसी और रीजन से कर दिया? यस यस, बोथ डेफिनेट. कंपनी के लिए बोथ. You'll have to refund the amounts. Okay? Absolutely void of Nisho Kuldeep. आदिल खान अकाउंट्स में पढ़ा था बेटा, बहुत कुछ अकाउंट्स में पढ़ा. Thank you so much, Abhinav Mishra, and I really wish you good health, bacha. I'm sad to read that you are suffering so much. Please get well soon and keep studying. Okay? Good, you're not missing the lectures. Still, you are studying. That's the spirit that you all have to keep. Okay, bacha. Stay blessed. We can write and see it. Okay. Yes, Ashilesha, this is exactly the internal restructuring that you have just understood with me. Again, I've gone to reading your queries. First, let me just open the question for you. Chalo ji, I'll keep on reading your queries. You read this question and answer me in the chat box. Ajit sir, are you there? Ajit sir? Let me see if we can use this everyone's option chat box now so that.
Yeah.
Sir, can the students use this option of everyone chat for answering the questions?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we make it available to them? They can just simply type, or I have to type something? I'm able to type it. Students will also be able to type here. All right, read the questions and answer it. Yes, forfeited are Kapilji, but then they are forfeited shares. No? Then it is a reissue. Told you it's a reissue. Ashilesha has written everyone option is not available. Okay, don't worry. They are making it available for everyone. Yes,
Now
Sanjay.
it is available.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Jeet. Yes, now it's available. Finally, we all are on the same chat. Yes. So you're writing yes, yes for the variation. Variation is possible. This is what you mean to say. So Grow More Limited share capital is divided into different class. Now they are tending to vary their rights, explain the provisions for obtaining the consent. So what consent is required? You simply give section 48, variation has to be given. SR will be passed and 3/4 of the value consent in writing is required. In the absence of such provisions, make sure that the allowed has to be given under MOA and AOA, otherwise it should not be prohibited. And if this variation is affecting the other class shareholders, then we need 3/4 of the consent of them also, but not the SR. Excellent, Abhinav Mishra. Good answer. Cancellation of variation is also possible. Yes, 10% of the shares. Very good, Mr. Chavan. Good answers. Some of you have written in the personal chats also. Very good. Adil, Kabirjeet. Good. Okay, let's see second question also we can do today. Walnut has on authorized share capital. So you can see how many times it has come in the ICAI module question also, MTPs, RTPs also, same question it is given. 1 lakh shares of ₹100 each and the amount of 3 crores in security premium account. Board of Directors has simply asked you, advised you how the application can be done. So we all know that very simple. You will write these 5 points and you will give the last point that if you're section 133 company, then only these 3 points will be allowed. Okay, simple as straightforward. Can equity share with differential voting rights be issued? If yes, briefly state the conditions in everyone's chat box. Very good, Navneet. Good answer. Conditions of DVRs. AOA. SR और OR? OR. भूले नहीं है मैम, हमें याद है. और no default, 3 years, financials, annual return, then dividend, debentures, no default, term loan, other 4 points. Default should be made in good in 5 years. All these points you will add, and then you will complete this question. Very good, very good, very good. Vedant, Mustafa, everybody. So one technical question, let's do it, and then we'll wind up the class. Apply your brains. I don't know whether this is your section which you can do or not. Okay, just wait. Give me 1 minute. What's the time right? Yes, 74% of voting power. Good, Chavan. No, this is related to transferring of the shares. You cannot do this one. Let me see if any MCQs we can do. चलो ये करो, बहुत इजी है ये वाला भी. MCQ करो. Everybody will answer me in the main chat box. ए कौन कह रहा है? Are you sure? देखा, पढ़ा नहीं है ना, लर्न नहीं करा ना अच्छे से. मुस्तफा कह रहा है सी फॉर श्योर. पहले ए, फिर सी फॉर श्योर. हाँ, शामली, आदित्य ए मैम, अनुभव ए. सबको दिख रहा है अब आंसर? साव्या, कव्यजीत, गुड. वेदांत, थैंक यू. अभिनव मिश्रा, I hope you have pasted it from the act, Bear Act directly or from here only upon the expiry of 5 years from the end of financial year. देख रहे हो, देख रहे हो कैसी गलतियां करोगे आप एग्जाम. A company issuing DVR should not have defaulted in repayment. Such default made company should issue on the expiry of 5 years from the end of financial year in which the default was made good. कल करा भी था हमने, कितने सालों में फाइनेंशियल ईयर की बात भी करी थी. तुम डेट से कर रहे हो. छोटी छोटी चीजों का ध्यान रखना है, ज्यादा खतरनाक नहीं है, सिंपल है, बट यू हैव टू लर्न इट. इससे हमें क्या पता लगा कि फर्स्ट थंब रूल इज रीड इट, अंडरस्टैंड इट, learn it. Without learning, if you are just jumping to the descriptive questions also, or you're looking into the suggested answers, it will not go. First homework is whatever you have. First is attend the class regularly with your pens, pencils, papers, notes, study material, highlighters. Sit and attend the class properly. Second is read, learn and revise the same day when you have done. Same day तो चलो 8:30 हो गया, पैसे पढ़ते हो रात को पढ़ो या अगले दिन सुबह तक. जो आज पढ़ाया है वो नेक्स्ट डे तक मैक्सिमम एक बार रीड एंड रिवाइज जरूर करना. Third thing is learn it once you're done with your classes. Fourth is revise all the MTPs, RTPs, all these things. Then only you can learn and do your paper well. Yes, Kuldeep, that's nice. Don't see options. Good. Thank you, students. So happy that you have written down here also. Anil is so enthusiastic about the chess. Next time I will answer you on this also. Okay. All right, students, I hope no more doubts are left and we have taken quite a lot of doubts today. Accounts पढ़ा रहे हैं. अनिल ने क्या लिखा है? आदिल ने, अच्छा ये accounts में पढ़ा था. Okay. All right, students. Thank you so much, Harsh Mishra. Such a beautiful line he has written. He says, ma'am, the way you smile and clear everything with your teaching technique and your doubt solving. Thank you. Oh my God. You have written so much for me, Harsh. Thanks a lot, Beta. God bless you. And you can fill the feedback forms also, children. All right. I hope no more doubts now. Can we wind up the session? Okay, Ji. Thank you, Shirisha. Your MCQs. Rules of solving needs to follow. Yes, definitely. You all have to follow those rules so that you do well in your MCQs. Generally, students lose marks in the MCQs. Thank you, Mr. Chavan. So now please revise whatever we have done in today's class and Monday's class also. Try seeing the descriptive questions only related to that. Okay? Yes, yes, you can do the study material MCQs, definitely. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you so much. All right, students, let's wind up. Remaining sessions of definitely Harsh Mishra. Definitely, Arun Sagar. I'll keep sharing all these tips as and when we keep moving ahead and doing all those chapters. I'll keep telling you, okay? Thank you, Linga. All right. Thank you, Geeta. Thank you, all those who have written over here. Yes, Navneet, let's see. Don't worry. Thank you so much. Chalo ji. ठीक है, sir. We are done with the session. All right. Thank you, Santosh. All right. Good night, students. Thank you so much. Ajit sir, we are done with the session.
निसर्ग जी, हेलो निसर्ग जी।